not the thing your parents wanted you to do a long time ago, and it was frowned upon. You think about the old Westerns and the, the cheating and the shooting and all that stuff. And, it's just not really like that. It's become more mainstream. It's a great source of entertainment for a lot of variety of people. And I just think the quick exchanges, the fast points, the action of pickleball is something that can be very exciting for someone who has a little something on the match.
Hello, welcome back to the Future of Pickleball. We talk with the movers and shakers, the people that make things happen, the doers, and have I got one for you today? We got a few tangents we're going to cover today that are a little new to pickleball, but I want to welcome Adam Stone. Adam, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here, excited for this. We've had some logistic issues, but I'm here. You're here, and we're ready to rock.
Very nice. No, this is great. I want to do a little bit of an intro. Adam's a big player in pickleball. If those of you who don't recognize him or understand his voice, he is a primary broadcaster on Pro Pickleball. He is one of the general managers of one of the Major League Pickleball Pro teams. Adam he's been a pro player at the highest levels. He's won national titles, and he's the real deal. And we're going to find out some very cool additional things about him. Adam, what did I miss?
You covered it well. A podcast. Yes. Sponsored by Selkirk.
Sponsored by Selkirk. And just give your podcast a little pitch.
Yeah. So it's the It Feels Right podcast. It's Through the Dink, sponsored by Selkirk. My partner in crime is Rob Nunnery, and we just cover pro pickleball, general topics, and just have a lot of fun with it. So it's good stuff.
And I'll tell you, their podcast is one that I watch that's very, very timely, newsworthy. They've really got the pulse of what's going on because they live in the pro space. And frankly, they've got the dirt. So it's always kind of cool.
Yeah, we have the dirt, and I have recently retired from playing pro pickleball, but I got a little birdies out there. I know what's going on in the mix, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the things that I like to do here on this show is we talk about where the sport's going, where it's been. You're possibly one of the earliest pro players in the game, aren't you?
Yes. So I played pro for about 6 years. I've been playing pickleball a little over 7. So I actually think this is a unique situation where I'm kind of a unicorn. I'm one of the only pro players that's retired. So I'm kind of in this transition space of moving into my second pickleball career. And, maybe 5-10 years down the line, there'll be plenty of high level players that have retired. But right now there's not many. So it's kind of a cool situation for me.
Very nice, very nice. So now when you think about the way your weeks go by and your months go by in the sport, other than being a new father, of course, that's got to be kind of epic.
Great word.
Where do you spend your time? Give us a little bit of an idea of what a month in the life of Adam Stone is, with where you're spending effort.
Right. Yeah. So we try to. I do a lot of communication with the SoCal Hard Eights. That's the team that I GM and coach. They have a wonderful ownership group, and we work in tandem, and we're always in communication about, player evaluations, prepping for the drafts of Major League Pickleball. The podcast, we try to do it at least once a week. I'm also occasionally co-hosting with James Ignatowicz on his podcast as well. So between all of that, the going to the tournaments and doing the broadcast on the PPA Tour and MLP takes up a pretty good chunk of time, especially with the travel to the tournaments.
So now, you're not playing the tour professionally. How much pickleball are you getting in?
So I actually was leaning towards kind of moving into this part of pickleball. My main goal was to get good enough to have some results, being known in the community, and then use that to do something in my second pickleball career. So that was the goal, and I was able to do that. So I'm happy with where I'm at right now.
Yeah, very cool indeed. Something that you guys, most people other than the real hardcores in the center of the pickleball swirl, don't know about Adam is he lived for a long time as a professional No, not a professional poker player before he was a professional pickleball player.
That was a perfect lead-in because there's a lot of similarities between the two. Pickleball, poker
Really?
match together, yes. So
Guide me.
Yes, so I have never seen, I played professional poker for probably about 12 years. I have never seen a sport game activity where people get so obsessed. It's special between pickleball and poker. And I think that there is a really cool dynamic that in poker, there's a lot of variance in both sport and game, and you can do the wrong thing in poker and it works out for you, and you can do the right thing and it doesn't work out for you in a small sample. And I think that happens a lot in pickleball as well. You can make poor decisions and win the point, or you can make good decisions and not win the point. So you have to go with a sustainable long-term strategy and not let those short-term results be results-oriented and affect your long-term strategy.
Very cool. I have never thought of that, but it is, well, I shouldn't say that. I think of it sometimes, usually when I'm down about 8-6 and I've missed three third shot drops in a row, and that's it. So, I really do want to talk a little bit about poker. And one of the things that's happening in pickleball is it's looking like we're really getting close to having gambling become part of the sport of pickleball. As somebody that's actually been in the serious gaming world, how do you see this thing actually happening? What will people who perhaps may not even be pickleball players, but are intrigued by the play of this new gambling opportunity, what do you think is going to happen?
Oh, I think it's very exciting. It's not just poker, but with sports betting, gambling in general, there was, a lot of, it was kind of not the thing your parents wanted you to do a long time ago, and it was frowned upon. You think about the old Westerns and the cheating and the shooting and all that stuff. And, it's just not really like that. It's become more mainstream. It's a great source of entertainment for a lot of variety of people. And I just think the quick exchanges, the fast points, the action of pickleball is something that can be very exciting for someone who has a little something on the match.
Now, so that's perfect. So one of the things that I've been trying to anticipate or figure out, maybe you can shed some light on it, is how will bets be constructed? How will things be done? I know horse racing and, parlays and
Certainly.
So how do you think the actual bets will be constructed?
It is wild. 20, 25 years ago, maybe you bet the money line or you just bet a team to win. Now you can do live betting. You can do future bets of who is going to win the tournament. You don't have to bet on a specific match, but there is a variety of prop bets that are great for pickleball. It could be over under amount of points. It could be over and under amount of third shot drops missed, and a variety of different ways to entertain the gambling audience. So I think it's a great spectator sport, and I would even think, as a gambler, it would be more exciting to watch a pickleball match you have money on than, say, a tennis match.
Yeah. Actually, one of the things that I'm thinking of, it's so many tournaments around the country. I've come to know a lot of the players that I don't know. I know a lot about them and how they play. Would it ever be conceivable that I could be sitting there on my phone during a match and having opportunities to make new decisions or new plays based on what's happened?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, the live betting. So you can, 50-50 at the start of the match. One team gets up 4-0. Those odds shift, and you press that button real fast. So you can bet throughout. The internet, the technology has really made it very accessible, and there's a variety of ways to enjoy it. And let's be clear. If you play pickleball, you love to watch. You know the talent, but some of those players that are a little newer to the game or maybe don't know as much about it, they don't understand the talent that is with these shots and these players. And if they just have a little something on it, that is going to get them into the game. They're going to start loving it because everybody gets addicted, Paul. I always say, name one person from your local pickleball group that started playing and doesn't play anymore. It's just not a thing.
Exactly.
So, very cool.
Yeah, well, it is those kind of things are what we really like to talk about on this show in terms of meeting with people who've really been involved with making a difference in the sport and aiming it in a direction. With what you're doing, particularly in broadcasting and working both in the management side or coaching management of pro teams, as well as being a primary broadcaster in it, what do you see happening in the pro game near term?
Oh my goodness, things are just moving so quickly. I think what we're really going to see is just the pro sport being a little more professional. I think a lot of these players are going to have small teams. We already see Leia Jansen. She's working in the gym. She has a tracking coach for visual tracking of the pickleball. And when you have a little more money coming into the sport, you can get the support of a team and have some extra people that help you. I don't care who you are in the sports world, you don't get there by yourself. And so to see the ability of these pro players have some extra tools at their disposal, I think it'll be very exciting.
Very cool. Very cool. Before I forget, I want to mention something. We're talking about a lot of different podcasts that go on, and Adam's talking about. For any of you that don't know, the Selkirk TV app, it's on every app store, is free, and it is the most comprehensive. Obviously, my cast is on there, Adam's is, but there are 14 major podcasters that are all aggregated. Most of the major events, or many of the major events, are broadcast live on it, and you can watch it on your phone. So don't miss the opportunity to do Selkirk TV on your phone. It's an invaluable resource. Commercials over. We're segueing back in here. So now, you're involved very much in the pro game. As you start looking at what you've seen in the 6 years that you're talking about a pro, much less earlier than that playing, you've seen this enormous change, meteoric growth. What are the next 7 years going to bring?
Man, that's a great question. Right when I came in, those paddles were smooth as a baby's butt. You couldn't really grip the ball. The game was completely different. We see a little more fast-paced, and the ability to execute offensive shots from different positions with the spin that you can get on the paddle. So I expect the game in between the lines to get even faster and have the ability for more exchanges and more firefights, which I love as a player, and I like watching those as well. And then outside the lines, the business part of it, as we touched on a little bit earlier, lots of sponsorships coming in, and it's not just pickleball sponsors anymore. We're kind of like golf. You're getting the investment companies and some of the bigger non-pickleball companies to invest. And money changes a lot of things. Maybe not all 100% for the good, but when you have that in there, there's a lot more options for players, for companies, and there's just a lot more opportunities in the sport, whether you're a player or someone kind of more on the media side, content creation side as well.
It is. Believe it or not, I'm an older man, and I was actually around the tennis game when it came. The pro game began in the early 70s. I was a young man. I'd grown up playing tennis. I was at events where the greatest players in tennis's history, Rod Laver, Ken Rosewall, Stan Smith, were no further away from me than you are, like we are currently in pickleball. Do you think we're going to be able to maintain this unique, cool experience, or will money end up driving those guys into private spaces and they'll walk out on the court and that'll be our only access to them?
I think eventually, if the growth continues like it is, it will be the latter, unfortunately. So
would you fix that for me?
It's tough because it was, early on, more camaraderie, more jobs in between the tournaments. You go, you play, you have dinner, you have an adult beverage or two, and it's just not super realistic for it to stay just like that. Maybe we can find a happy middle ground, which I think we're probably at about right now, but this is just the way the world works, and when it becomes more of a business and more of exclusive livelihood of a lot of the players and people working in the sport, it's just a natural progression.
Maybe we could put up a glass wall where we could still say close.
I like
Very
that.
cool. You know, I'm going to tell you, one of the things that I love about what we, the collective, and doing in pickleball, and particularly what I do with this show, is getting a chance to meet people like you. When you think of where we're at, you've got a child that's 6 years from now is going to start playing pickleball, I'm guessing.
Probably so.
Probably.
Maybe before.
Maybe before. What would you like to see from a parent, family? You know, that dynamic is really in my sweet spot in terms of I love seeing young families and bringing kids in and this camaraderie. Any visions that way as a new dad?
Oh, no, that's a great question. And, you know, I think the average pickleball player when I first started was about 78.4 years old, and that number has dropped drastically.
Sure.
So you can see some of the younger players getting it, and the fact that it's such a social sport, I really think it can grab that, you know, that 20 to 30 range, maybe young singles that can have a couple drinks, play, and all that stuff. So to get it into schools, to make it part of a curriculum to where it's you know, more of a mainstream sport like some of the baseballs, basketballs, and footballs, I think is something that will happen more and more. And I think that's very exciting. And just to think or to mention pickleball in the same breath as some of those other sports, as you couldn't have just played another sport and converted to pickleball. You could just be a pickleball player.
Right.
I think that's great.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. There are two states that have stuff going on that a lot of the industry doesn't know about yet. The state of Arizona is now reaching out. The Board of Education is reaching out to its school systems, asking them to add more pickleball courts on their middle schools and high schools because they want to broaden the curriculum in phys ed. Mm-hmm. State of Utah has 15 high schools having an intramural pickleball event that just finished. So these things are happening so fast, and I think when we get some role models of this, it'll be great for other states to look at and see. So I think that's all positive. One other thing, though, are you doing anything, or is there anything that you're aware of with the growth of youth pickleball in the pickleball space itself?
Right. So I definitely try to do some charity work, some exhibitions, some things like that. But there is an exciting development. The APP Next Gen and Ken Herman has put together a group of players that are kind of on the cusp of getting to the pro level, and they are in the late teens and a couple in their early 20s. And I am having the pleasure to work with them with Chad Edwards, Simone Jargin's husband, and I really like that development process.
Sure,
so especially when you're working with someone that has some really nice tools at their disposal, you can see the levels when they level up, and you can see it, and you feel like you have a part of that.
Right.
And I think that's a really cool feeling, and something that I would like to have some aspect of what I'm doing in pickleball be involved with some of the younger players. I would like to do that always.
You know, it is. I've been very involved in trying to help launch youth pickleball for a long time. We think we finally got the secret sauce for spring of 2024 to bring it nationally. But part of our goal is to reach out not just to elite level pros, mm-hmm. but teaching pros and getting behind these programs. When I grew up in tennis, when I would go to a big tournament, my coach was there from the club that I played at, right. And he took such great pride, and there was bragging rights between the different coaches as to who was bringing which players along. I would love to see that in pickleball. Is that realistic?
Oh, definitely. I think it is, and I did a little bit of that with tennis as well. So I have a tennis background. I played in college. I stayed on to be the grad assistant there, and I did a little, some country club lessons and that kind of thing working with juniors, and I think that's exactly what could happen with pickleball, and I think it's great. And not to mention, could there be a better intramural sport than pickleball? It's absolutely perfect, the social aspect. So I think the youth and getting them involved in the game is something that is for sure going to happen.
I've got an idea for you.
Okay.
So imagine that kid that's not the biggest tall. He's not making the varsity football team. Mm-hmm. He's not tall enough to be on the varsity basketball team. He's not quick enough to be on the soccer team.
You talking about me?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I am. But that kid, to have if when we can get pickleball to a point that in high schools, in an interscholastic environment, that kid can have a varsity sports experience and they can be superstars, and think 16, 17-year-olds, that number one player might be a girl. Wouldn't that be something?
That's right.
Because I love the gender neutrality of our sport, and we're about as close as any sport that I can think of in terms of women's and men's play. But wouldn't that be cool? So get your kids kicking their schools in the butt to let's get high school interscholastics going, and we'll have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm in. I'm in.
Cool. Well, I told you we were going to have a good one today. I want you to get your Selkirk TV app going, watch gambling. I'm going to get a little bit of coaching on how to place those prop bets from Adam here. Thank you all very much for being with us today. Next time.